I swear this isn't what it looks like, okay? I'm sure you've heard of MiSide, or MiSide. It's spelled MiSide, but I kind of think it's supposed to be MiSide. But every single big YouTuber and streamer has played it at this point. Rule 34 artists are currently making bank, and gooners are frothing at the mouth. Though let's be real, they do that with any game that has a moderately attractive woman in it. But I, being the greedy bastard that I am, thought that it would make a great video for Valentine's Day. But it's March. As I said, I thought it would make for a great video for Valentine's Day, because everyone seemed to like it, and from what I'd seen, the demo looked pretty interesting. The hot anime girls were also of course a plus, but that begs a question. Is the game actually good, or were all the reviews just written out with one hand? Well, let's find out. We play as the average Redditor. We have no friends, no hobbies, but unlike the average Redditor, we're actually reasonably attractive. And we also have Thai physics. Someone sends us MiSide, don't ask who, it's never explained, and we download it and quickly develop a gacha addiction. Our new waifu Mita asks us our name and we'll just ignore that for now. Things play out pretty normally after that. We make some chicken soup for Mita, we buy her a portable TV, we find her giant chainsaw that she has for some reason. But after nearly 40 days of a non-stop gacha gaming, Mita tells us that she wishes we could meet IRL. And then she has a very good idea. It is at this point that we realize that we should have just blown all our savings on Genshin.
I think you should gamble.
So we're now stuck in the game. I know, how surprising. We look around the house and find a mysterious machine in the bedroom. Our gamer instincts kick in and tell us that the machine's probably our ticket out of here, but of course it breaks before we can actually slash TP out of there, because video game logic. Which actually makes sense here, we are in a video game. We start looking for some fuses to fix it, but of course creepy stuff starts happening. This is a horror game after all. Like the exit to the bathroom becoming replaced by a spooky hallway. Also, don't think we don't see you back there! Or someone knocking on the kitchen window. But eventually, we find all the fuses, fix the machine, and get teleported to the same house. Now, despite the fact that we've been kidnapped by an anime girl and dragged into a gacha game, our character doesn't seem to care that much, which is a little tiny bit weird, but I also kind of like it just because we don't have to go through the whole, oh my god, I'm in a video game, how is this possible thing. We proceed to do cute couple stuff with our new waifu, like helping her make some food and playing a f***ing horrendous Smash Bros ripoff. Truly terrible. You can just beat it by crouching and constantly punching. There's no strategy involved in this shit. We also find some ominous cartridges in the vent, but I'm sure that's nothing to worry about. Come on. While playing cards, we hear banging coming from the wardrobe. We try to check it out, but Mita stops us. We, reasonably want to know what the hell's actually going on, but she just deflects and tells us that the only thing she wants is for us to stay. And we actually can, as long as we haven't seen anything sus, and as long as we've already beaten the game. If we do decide to stay, we unlock peaceful mode, which currently does nothing because it's not actually in the game yet. But it sounds like it could be interesting once it's implemented. But, we decide to not stay with the crazy anime girl that kidnapped us, which Mita doesn't really like. We find out that there's a basement door in the wardrobe, for some reason, again video game logic, but it's locked, so we look around the place for a key, while trying to ignore all the creepy shit going on, like a demon Mita randomly attacking us, or a demonetization demon hanging out in the bathroom, or this. And in case you're wondering, no, we can't just leave through the front door, because the chairs are evil. And also, it probably doesn't lead anywhere anyways. Again, video game logic. So we eventually find a pair of legs that lead us to the key, which has randomly appeared on the dresser, and we go down into the basement where we find a mita? But this mita isn't evil, and actually helps us escape evil mita. We then end up in the back rooms, make our way through a PT maze, encounter a guy that's been stabbed. We can't help him though, cause he's gotta get back to gooning, and we end up finding nice mita again. And it's at this point that I realized that the game wasn't gonna be what I thought it was. Now obviously I wasn't actually expecting a gooner game. I mean, come on, even the Steam page warns you that there's a lot of blood and gore in it, so you know. But I was expecting it to actually be a horror game, but it isn't really. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of spooky moments and some pretty good scares, but there's honestly also a lot of moments where it basically stops being a horror game. And that's not a problem, that's not supposed to be criticism. I like that it's not just the predictable, oh shit, this game looks so innocent and cute, but it's actually super spooky. And instead of trying way too hard to be super scary and spooky, it focuses a lot more on the characters and the world, which I think is way more interesting. The gameplay also isn't really what I expected. I don't really know what I expected honestly, but I do know that it wasn't this. And I don't really know how to describe it because there's not a consistent gameplay loop. What I mean is, one moment you're playing PT, and the next you're playing a visual novel. First, you're playing knockoff Dance Dance Revolution with a hot anime girl, and then you're getting chased by knockoff Slender Man in an endlessly looping hallway. And I really like that, because I never knew what to expect. And along with that, there's also just a lot of optional side stuff, like all the little mini games you can play with the different mitas, or the random arcade machine you can find where you can play Doom. Or at least an anime version of Doom. No, not you. Get out of here before I get demonetized. But that being said, there also is a lot of walking, talking, sitting around waiting for the coffee to be done, which I didn't really mind that much, but it does feel a tiny little bit padded out sometimes, like we could have just gone through it just a tiny little bit quicker. Anyways, Nice Mita explains that if we want to get out of the game, we're gonna have to delete Evil Mita, and the only way to do that is to get to the core. But because we're a flesh and blood human, and not a bunch of ones and zeros like the Mitas, we can't just /TP there. So Mita fixes up this little GPS ring that'll show us the way, like a less annoying Navi. I feel like that f***ing joke is extremely dated. I mean, the legend is like Ocarina of Time is older than I am. Then we go back to the back rooms, though I feel like the longer I walk down this hallway, the more I start to understand the definition of insanity. Yep, that's right, boys. It's a PT hallway. And just like in PT, creepy shit starts happening the longer we stay. I did notice, though, that there's no run option unless you're getting chased, so you always know when you're being chased before you even see, you know, what you're being chased by, which kind of ruins the horror. In general, I'd never really felt tense while playing. Like, there's some good scares, but overall it's not really that scary, at least to me. Again, except for certain moments. So we escape the endless hallway by jumping out the window. Luckily though, the devs forgot to add fall damage and we get TP'd somewhere else. We help Chibi Mita make a key for us and we move into the Mita storage room, but these Mitas don't seem to be active, well, except for one. Short hair Mita tells us to go upstairs before you can continue, so we do, and we play Mita Assembly Simulator for a bit, before Mita explains a little more about how this world works. Basically, all the different versions of the game are laid out in order, you know, nice and organized, and if you want to get to the core, you'll have to move backwards through them. Basically, it really is just the backrooms. Like, it works exactly the same way that the backrooms works. But I like that the game really tries fleshing out how this world works, because they easily could have just said, it's video game logic, bro, and left it at that, but instead they actually put in the effort to explain it, and I think it's also just pretty interesting. She also warns us to avoid the earliest version where Ugly Mita resides, cause it's completely broken. Basically, the devs released it in the same state that Cyberpunk released. After that, we're finally allowed to move on to what is just straight up the pool rooms, and we're also being chased by some definitely not the endoskeletons from FNAF Security Breach. It's a pretty standard Weeping Angel segment, we make it into this big room and go up the ladder under this big light in the center of the room that I definitely didn't ignore like a complete dumbass. We go further and end up in this big open area that I'm assuming is between versions. And here, I just want to mention how fucking good the game looks. Like, obviously, the graphics are good, but I mean in terms of how unique all the different areas look, which personally is always something I care a lot about. Like, this area looks awesome. Instead of just doing the classic game, but spooky and glitchy aesthetic, there's more going on here. I mean, they still obviously do the game but spooky and glitchy aesthetic, but they don't rely on it. It's not the only thing that's going on here. I mean, you got the pool rooms, you got the back rooms, you got whatever this frozen abyss is. The next area kind of reminds me of the core from Undertale. It's very varied for like the premise of game, but spooky and glitchy. So we make our way through there and end up in another version of Mita's house, though this Mita's different. She's basically just a glitchy ghost. She's Gaster. We help her by finding some drawing scraps, but she's oh fuck! We avoid more Mita endos and end up in another version. Make some coffee for this Mita to keep her awake. You just know that there's gotta already be an insane amount of Rule 34 on. Hold on, let me check. Holy f***ing shit. Anyways, she helps us leave, and then we end up in another version where... Wait, hold on, this seems familiar. That's probably nothing. This version of Mita is a little shit and steals our ring, so we're forced to play tic-tac-toe to get it back, which I suck at. Luckily, crazy Mita bursts in and breaks the laws of dimensional planes before I can lose. She chases us, but we manage to escape. Honestly, not quite sure how, because she's 3D, we're 2D. Anyways, I guess at this point, video game logic. And then we're ejected out into another version. But this Mita's not like the other girls. No. Cause you see, she's Mila. Worse than that, she's also a tsundere. So we go about our business fixing the different glitches around her house while she's doing nerd shit, I don't know. Before we leave, Mila asks us to stay because I guess she's fallen in love with our Giga Chad physique. But we tell her we've kinda gotta kill a yandere, which she doesn't really like cause she's lonely. So we tell her that will come back after dealing with crazy Mita. And I think they did a pretty good job of making Mila likable pretty quickly. Like, she's funny, but it's also kind of interesting to see how she tries dealing with the fact that she's just another version of Mita, especially compared to how the other Mitas deal with it. Faceless Mita tried literally deleting herself, short hair Mita found a new role by helping newborn Mitas get used to the game, and Mila tries being not like the other girls. But she still can't escape just being another version of Mita. Anyways, we have no choice but to leave, but unfortunately Mila ends up getting Texas Chainsaw Massacred, so we have to run like hell. And I definitely didn't die an embarrassing amount of times here to really stupid shit. Anyways, we managed to escape, and that totally isn't terrifying. We find Mita waiting for us in this big open room, and she tells us that she wants to play some games. First, we're only allowed to move when the music's playing, then it's a game of hide and seek, and lastly, she starts f***ing chucking bombs at us. Which I feel like one of these is a little worse than the others, you know, I feel like that escalated a little quickly, but luckily the floor collapses under us, and we fall into some vents. Nope. You know you can't just end the video here, right? Do you want to get shot again? I take it back. We crawl through the vents and end up in a Gmod map. Look around, but we're not alone. Because Crazy Mita has followed us here, along with Ugly Mita. Take a shot for every time I say Mita in this video. You'll be dead before the end of the video, trust me. Now Mita leaves, leaving us with Ugly Mita, but you know, I think the other Mitas were just being mean. I mean, all I see is a certified goth baddie. Sure, she moves like I animated her, and she's constantly cosplaying The Grudge. And sure, she does try to stab us, but listen, I can fix her. But to build off of what I said about Mila and Faceless Mita earlier, Ugly Mitas decided to cope with her being just another version of Mita by just being delusional as hell, even though she's really the only actually unique version of Mita. Anyways, our protagonist isn't quite as optimistic as me, and we get the hell out of there and finally reach the core. Nice Mita tells us to put in the version, but it turns out we also need Crazy Mita's index number, which we don't have. So, Nice Mita leaves to go find it, but she's away a tad bit too long, and we have horror movie protagonist syndrome, so we leave our perfectly nice and safe couch to go find her. It does not go well, because Crazy Mita finds us again and finally explains why she's doing this to us. And this is probably my least favorite part of the game, because the dialogue's a little confusing here. And part of that's just that the devs are Russian, so, their English isn't the best. But her motive's just not explained that well. We learn after this that she wants to escape into the real world and that she's not actually one of the mitas, she's something else. But aside from that, I don't really get her motive, and I feel like it's not really explained that well. And maybe this will be explored more in the peaceful mode, but that's not currently in the game. She also apparently really hates players, but I really don't actually get why. Like, she talks about how players are hypocrites, but she doesn't give any real reason why. And she also talks about stuff that hasn't really been mentioned before, like the in-universe devs of the game. It's just like they haven't really been mentioned before this, but now Mita makes it out like they're supposed to be this major part of the plot. And maybe I missed some lore about the in-universe devs, but it's not like it ruins the game or anything, Mita bonks us and points out that our life kinda sucked even before getting isekai'd into her world. We aren't really convinced though, and wake up in the basement. Nice Mita finds us and saves us, but we can't have nice things, so luckily though, she's not actually dead, because mitas don't die, they just reset. And she also managed to get Crazy Mita's index number before getting the papyrus treatment. So we slap that index number into the console, get thrown back into Mita's house by a big robot Mita, and find Crazy Mita again. But she's not crazy anymore, because she's also been reset now. She tells us that we're free to leave, but well, there's kind of a wall in the way. So then she tells us that maybe there's something in the basement that can help us. Protagonist is reasonably a little nervous, but there's nothing bad down there, so we input our player ID into this big ominous machine and then we can finally leave. Except we can't, cause Mita's actually still evil. Her version never existed, and she's basically a digital skinwalker. Though I guess you could also call her, But we managed to escape just in time. Though, is it just me, or is the game kind of lagging?
Oh my
Ow. Anyways, it turns out Mita's been playing as us this whole time. That's right, we've been the hot anime girl all along. And you remember all those cartridges we found in that vent? You remember, right? Yeah, all of those are other players. You can actually find your own cartridge while playing if you open the safe in the basement. You can even take out the cartridge and die. So I honestly thought that I was gonna have more to say, but I don't. That's probably a good thing though, because usually if I have a lot to say about something, it means it's dog shit. And that, and also usually if I'm talking about a game, I, talk a lot about the gameplay, but there's no real gameplay loop to talk about, so can't really do that. But despite that, I like the game. I think it's pretty good. I mean, sure, it's not really doing anything new. I mean, spooky fourth wall breaking anime girls have been done before. I mean, even Gravity Falls did it a decade ago. And spooky, glitchy games have been a pillar of indie horror for even longer. But not every game has to be FNAF and go on to completely redefine the horror genre for the next decade, for the worse. Sometimes it's fine for a game to just, be good, which it is. It honestly kind of does remind me of Edith Finch, because you have these sections of really different gameplay connected by more walking sim sections. And like Edith Finch, I never really knew what to expect, Okay, that's a lie. I did know what to expect with Edith Finch because I'd watched a ton of playthroughs of it. But if I hadn't been spoiled, I would probably have had the same experience with that game that I had here. Because I never knew what weird shit the game was gonna pull next, which I really like. Because usually with a lot of indie horror games especially, you kinda know what to expect. Now, I'd say, if we're continuing the comparison, Edith Finch had a better story, but MiSide has better gameplay. Mostly just because there's more actual gameplay. Don't get me wrong, though. I still think the plot's pretty good. Complain about it a little bit, but overall, it's pretty good. I really liked how they fleshed out all different versions of Mita. Even though we didn't get to spend that much time with most of them, the game did a pretty solid job of making them actually feel different and distinct, and those words mean the same thing. Anyways, you get what I mean. They're interesting. So yeah, overall, it's a pretty good game. Now the big question, is it worth $15 dues? Or euros in my case, but you know, it's basically the same. Yeah, I think so. I got almost 5 hours out of it, and they're still gonna add the peaceful mode, so who knows how much more content is gonna be added. So yeah, I think it's worth it. Now then, something, like, subscribe. I didn't write an outro for this video, bye.